I'm Brett, and I'm speaking on behalf of Bricks Are for Kids. So there are 4 basic needs of survival: food, water, shelter, and fire. This concept not only applies to humans, but it applies to trees as well. Forests in the Sierra Nevadas are suffering due to the result of human negligence. A negligence to care for natural resources the same way that humans care for ourselves. This has led to the mortality of over 100 million trees. This is a fact reported by Scott Stevens of the U.S. Forest Service. The management of fires in the Sierra Nevada forest within the last century has led to unhealthy forests due to overgrowth, bark beetles, and drought, all of which affect the well-being of the forests and of the public. An understanding of forest fires on a basic level is necessary to understand the management strategies. California is infamous for forest fires, and while we see them as bad most of the time, forest fires can be good. In fact, forest fires are supposed to be good. So what's the difference between a good fire and a bad fire? The answer is that the management of the forest is what determines whether a fire is good or bad. A properly managed, healthy forest, when burned, will only have positive effects on its environment. Fires will remove ground covering and clear weak or dead trees and allow healthy trees to live. This is a prime example of natural selection. Soils are able to replenish their nutrients as plants are burned. In CAL FIRE's article, The Benefits of Fire, it is stated that certain pine trees can only germinate with fire. Heat from the fire causes certain pine cones to open, releasing their seeds, giving way to new life. As you can see in this picture, only the shrubs and the brush on the ground is on fire. The trees are not on fire and the soil isn't burning. This is a healthy forest fire. A poorly managed, unhealthy forest will burn with greater severity and will be destructive to the ecosystem of the forest, having the complete opposite effect on the forest that a forest fire should have. An overzealous fire takes no consideration of natural selection and burns both sick and healthy trees. Habitats of animals are destroyed. A fire too severe will damage the soil so badly that it can't be used for anything. In this picture, we can see that the entire forest is on fire. Not a single living organism or plant or anything in this fire is going to make it out alive. That includes the communities built around the forests. The fires recently experienced in California have been bad fires due to the management of the forests. The management has not just become a recent issue. One of the first decisions made regarding the management of forests was in 1935, following the Big Blow Up. The Big Blow Up was a highly destructive fire, burning 3 million acres and killing 78 people, according to Jennifer Weeks, a CQ researcher. This revealed a lack of fire preparation on part of the U.S. Forest Service. Their solution to this was the 10 a.m. policy, which required that every fire burning in the United States must be put out by 10 a.m. the morning after it starts to ensure that the fire won't grow too large or get out of hand, as mentioned in the Forest History Society's article, The Greatest Good. This complete fire suppression has led to a century of overgrowth in the Sierra Nevadas. Ideally, Sierra Nevada forests should have roughly 50 to 80 trees per acre. In the article, The State of the Sierra Nevada Forests by the Sierra Nevada Conservancy, it says that due to the 10 a.m. policy, there are now nearly 300 to 400 trees per acre. That is 6 times what there should be. Their idea of saving trees from fire resulted in more trees dying. If the fires were allowed to burn while the forests were healthy, weak trees would be removed and nutrients would be replenished. Now that the forests are overpopulated, all fires burn with a much greater intensity. Overpopulation has drained the soil of nutrients and water needed for the sustainability of the forests. You can see in this picture the rate of dead trees in the Sierra Nevada forest and surrounding California over the past century. The sustainability of the forest has gone down greatly, leading to the increase of death of trees in the, throughout the forest. The California drought of the 20th century has increased with overpopulation. Overgrowth increases the need for water in the forests, and due to increased competition, it further decreases the supply of water. As a result, trees grow dry, making them more susceptible to death and insect infestation. The most common type of infestation in the Sierra Nevadas is the bark beetle. This is a picture of what bark beetles do to trees. They basically eat them alive. So bark beetles, similar to fire, can be good or bad depending on the health of the environment. In a healthy environment, bark beetles influence the natural selection of the trees by attacking the weak trees and leaving the healthy trees to survive. Healthy trees protect themselves by producing sap. If there's a drought and trees can't get enough water to produce sap, it makes them susceptible to bark beetles. And then the bark beetle infestation will grow and spread throughout, as seen in this picture. Scott Stevens also says that since California is experiencing a major drought, the whole forest is at risk for beetle infestation and devastation. These issues have already been going on for decades, and the government finally realized what needed to happen. Despite multiple setbacks throughout history, the forestry industry is moving forward with the restoration of the forests. The Forest History Society says that in 1960s, scientific research surfaced revealing that forest fires are necessary to a healthy forest. This led to a major change in Forest Service policy in the 1970s through increasing logging efforts and controlled burns to decrease the overpopulation, as told by John Hendy, Chad Dawson, and Winona Sharp in their book, The Introduction to Forest and Renewable Resources, the 8th edition. So as a result of these new efforts, the damage done by fire suppression proved too severe and led to multiple occasions of these prescribed burns growing out of control and proving too costly for the U.S. Forest Service to handle. As a result, in 2009, Congress passed the Flame Act, a yearly allowance to the U.S. Forest Service to support environmental restoration and fire management. Restoration is possible by the efforts of government and public alike. Despite major management issues in the past, the U.S. Forest Service is redeeming itself by correcting past mistakes. They are working towards achieving a healthy environment on not only a national scale, but a state level as well. Now that experts and California's public have recognized and accepted that fire is one of the 4 basic needs of survival of a forest, the Sierra Nevadas can now be restored. As a result, the destructive severity of California's fires in the past can be avoided. Through proper conservation and preservation methods, the natural beauty of forests can now be experienced by the public and the generations to come.